Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. Welcome back. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving break. Okay. Let's see. Let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen? All right. Let's see. Small. Let's see where we are. All right. So this is, I believe, this is the week where we just go over the project. Uh, we wrap up a couple of features that listen to talking. Right, so we're here, right? We are on week the 12th week, and so this week will be pretty much a continuation of last week where we had introduced logging in and registration profile. I did record a couple of short videos over the break, and I shared them with you, which go over some of the material that we're going to go over today about implementing registration login, and we're going to expand on that to kind of tie together the one of the requirements of the project is to interact with a third-party API, be able to store some information about it, whether you like movie or song or recipe, and somehow that needs to be conveyed in the database as well as in the user interface. Right? So we'll talk a little bit about that. It's basically somewhat kind of mashing up data that might be found in multiple data sources, one being a third-party API that we don't own, but the other one being a database that we do own, right? Both of them using their own RESTful APIs, right? Communicating with multiple servers, multiple databases. So we'll talk about that. Also later this week, towards the end of this week, I guess either Thursday or Friday, there'll be the final quiz number 6, which will be about Mongo, how to connect, how to do some queries to the database. And then next week, at the beginning of the week, we'll have our review of the second exam, and then we'll have the exam later that week, probably on Friday, so so that it'll be available all weekend, so that you can take it on your own. You're welcome to come to the live session, but you're welcome to take it later. I haven't yet decided when to make it available. If to make it available on Wednesday, since it is the same exam that will be used for the undergrads. I guess I'll make it random, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it'll be random, so it doesn't really matter what this question says. Could you please unlock? Oh yes, okay, definitely. Yeah, I'll do that. Yes, thank you. All right, so yeah, so a review on next Monday, and then the exam later that week. And again, like the other exams and the quizzes, right? They'll be available, and then you can either come to the live day that I'm there. You can ask the questions, or if you prefer to take it a little later, that's fine. The question in the chat. What day is the project submission due on? So yeah, let's talk about that. So so this exam, I believe the target date that I'm thinking is that the exam will be available either on the 8th or the 9th. Haven't quite decided yet. Probably I'll schedule it for the 9th so that it's the undergrads is also that day. And then the project is officially due on the 11th, December the 11th, this Sunday. Okay. But it's a soft due date. And what I mean by soft due date is that all this week, right, beginning on Monday the 12th, we will be doing project grading. Right? You'll be demoing the project to us, and I'll post a spreadsheet where your team can register for demos, and we'll have lots of demos in one day, right? Where we'll have maybe 5-6 teams demo the same day, starting in the morning all the way through the evening, and so depending on the slots, you might end up demoing early in that week, the 12th, or later that week, right? Maybe on Thursday, and you're welcome to keep working on the project, even though the due date is the 11th, right? I don't mind if you keep working on the project. No, I mean, I'm not going to check to see if you've made any later submissions to GitHub or anything like that. You will have to submit some information that we're going to ask you by the 11th, but you can keep working beyond the 11th. So if you end up having to demo on the 15th, you're welcome to keep working until the 15th. I don't recommend it. It's it's very dangerous, and you might break the demo right. You might break something right before the demo, right? And we don't have a lot of time to get back to you and reschedule you. This is going to be a very, very busy week, right? So if you intend to keep working beyond the 11th, I would make sure to have a working version of the prior application, that it builds correctly, works correctly, and maybe you work on a different branch or something, right, where you are trying to fix something or polish a few things here and there. But yeah, it's dangerous fixing something right before a demo, so I don't recommend it. So ideally, you're done by the 11th, and that's it. Okay. But anyway, so that's that. So yeah, so we'll be grading all that week, and I do have to have grades by, I believe, Monday the 19th. Right here, I have to have grades at 2 p.m. And you get those grades are then made available on no, not on Canvas, on MyNEU, I guess, where you can see your grades. I believe Tuesday, the following Tuesday, the 20th. I believe that's the schedule. Okay. So anyway, so that's the schedule for the next couple weeks. We are coming down to the wire. We are almost done. My goodness, it's been a quick semester. Yeah. So any other questions? Okay. All right. So let me just show you where we left off. And also the slides that I shared with you over the weekend. I'm not sure if you had a chance to take a look at them, but we'll go over some of that material here, and I'll demo. So here's what I am providing to you, that you can, you're welcome to reuse the source code any way you want. Take a look at it, how I did it, and we'll go over it together here. But yeah, feel free to reuse as much as you want. So yeah, so let's see. So here we have two login pages. Is somebody speaking? I think somebody has not muted. Let's see. Maybe Adrian is not muted. Okay. Let's see if I get this. So we have two screens, right? One, notice that they're accessing the same URL. They're hitting the same React application, right? And so they're both navigating to the login screen. Now I'm going to log in, and also notice that this is accessing this page using Chrome, whereas this one I'm using Edge, right? On my computer, I have Windows, so that's the default browser. So say I log in as Alice, right? And Alice, I believe Alice is Alice123. And I log in. Notice that, yeah, let me show you that again. Notice that here you have the home, search, users, login, and register. And so if I log in as Alice, Alice 123, notice that these will disappear. The login and register will disappear because I'll be logged in. Right. So if I log in, notice that now those two links disappear, and I am navigating. I'm navigated automatically to my profile, and it greets me. It says, "Oh, welcome, Alice," and also that state of who is currently logged in is available to me all throughout the multiple pages. So if I go to home screen greets me, knows who I am, and it greets me as Alice. Right. Notice that if I log out, notice that it kicks me out of the profile. I can't access the profile. It kicks me back to the login, and the login and register come back. I notice if I go to home, notice that it does not greet me, right? It doesn't know who I am. So this is kind of like the anonymous screen that I was talking about, right? It doesn't know who I am. It just shows me some generic content. But if I log in as Alice, it knows who I am. So let's see. Does this remember my password? Let's see. Yeah. So again, it knows who I am. And notice that if I refresh the screen, it still knows who I am, right? So even though I am resetting the state of the React web application, it's going out to the server, right, to fetch that, right? And then resets it here on the client. Same thing in the profile until I log out. Now notice that on the right-hand side, on the Edge browser, if I refresh, notice that it doesn't know who I am. See that? Look at that. So if I refresh this home, on this one, it knows who I am, Alice, but on this one, it doesn't. Okay. So this is what we had just started talking about, that we had implemented the login and registration using a single variable, right? So that the server could remember that somebody was logged in, right? But it was the same variable that would be the same value regardless of who was hitting the server, right? The way it was implemented using one variable. But now I've added sessions, right? And so the server can now distinguish between two clients, right? Presumably these would be two clients, one running, perhaps on the East Coast, and another browser running on the West Coast, and they're both hitting the same server. But now the server can distinguish who is sending the requests, right? Because we have added session, we have added cookie support. And so instead of having a single variable that we're keeping track of the current logged in user, now we are using a session, so where we store the current user in that session, right? And the session is different from different browsers, right? And the way we do that is by using cookies. Cookies provide a unique token that allows us to distinguish one user from another, one browser from another. So if I log in here as, say, Bob123, if I log in, notice that it greets me. Notice that the top login and register links go away. If I refresh, right, this one, notice that it says /profile. See that? Meaning the URL doesn't have any notion of who I am. I'm not encoding the ID of the user at all anywhere, right? So the client is not maintaining anything in the URL to maintain the state, right? It's all being maintained on the server. We hit the server, we bring back the copy of that session, current user, and we copy it locally on our reducer. And then a global reducer is then used to share the current user with the rest of the application. So here, notice this is Bob. If I refresh, notice that this tells me that I'm Bob. Whereas here, if I refresh, it tells me that it's Alice, right? And same thing if I go to profile, the profiles are different. They're logged into different places. Everybody make sense? Everybody okay with that? All right. Yeah, excellent. So for instance, a couple of things that we would like to be able to do is store information about Bob, right? So if I go to Bob's profile, I would like to see things about Bob, right? If I go to Alice, I'd like to see things about Alice. Okay. So for instance, if Alice was following Bob and I go to Bob, it would show me that Alice is a follower of Bob, or vice versa. If I go to Alice, it would show me that Alice is following Bob. Right? I could see who's following, who's being followed, right? So I should be able to navigate to Alice's profile, right? If I have the users, and here's Alice, presumably I should be able to navigate to Alice's profile, but it would not be my profile; it would be Alice's profile, right? So how do you do that? How do you? So let's visit those ideas. Also, if I search for a movie and I like the movie, well, I need to store that somewhere, right? Somewhere I need to record the fact that this person who's logged in as Alice likes that particular movie, right? So how do I do that? Right? I need to record that information. Notice that this information is nowhere in my database, right? This is not in my database. This is somebody else's database, where it's way over there at OMDB. Okay, so how do we store that? Okay, so if I go to a profile, I would be able to see that Alice, right, likes Avatar or whatever, right? Whatever other movie she likes. Everybody good? Okay, so let's work on that. Okay, let's first work on somebody following someone else, right? One of the requirements in the project was to create a relationship between users, right? And the relationship could be anything, right? It could be that if I'm logged in as Alice, I might want to send Bob a message, right? And that would be a relationship, right? Alice sent Bob a message. That could be a relationship. That the message relates to users, the sender and the receiver, right? That would be a relationship. Or right that if I go to Bob's profile, maybe I leave a review, or I leave a recommendation, right? Like on LinkedIn, because I work with Bob and he's great, right? I give him 5 stars. So that also could be a relationship, right? That Alice leaves a recommendation for Bob. Okay, so that also relates to users. Or the most common type of relationship is that somebody is following someone else. Right? So let's work on that. Yeah, following. Okay. Okay. So we could do that. Another thing that we would like to be able to do is navigate to somebody else's profile, right? So for instance, here I'm visiting my profile and I can see Alice, but I would like to be able to click on maybe Bob and navigate to his profile, right? Now, how would we encode that? That would be profile and then followed maybe by the ID of Bob, something like that, where if I go to Bob, I can see his profile, not mine, right? So how do we do that? So let's play around with that. Let's play around with that idea. Okay. Yeah, so let's look at it. So the way it's going to work, right, is that these are not going to be links. Now, one of the concerns would be, well, why are you even seeing this list of users? Is that even realistic? It's not quite realistic, right? Because um, as a regular user, there wouldn't be a use case where you can see just a long list of users, right? That's not a realistic use case. If you're a system administrator, perhaps, right? If you're a system administrator, then yeah, you could see a list of users. But me being, Alice 123, right? Why does Alice get to see a list of users? That's another issue, and we can talk about that. Why are you even seeing a list of users? A more realistic scenario would be that I go to a particular movie, right, and maybe Alice left a review about that movie. Then it would make sense, right, that if I go to a movie, I see all the people that like that movie, or that left a review about that movie. Then it might make sense to be able to navigate to that person's, right? That's where I see the people that are associated to that thing, right, to that movie. So perhaps that might be a better starting point. Right, let's start with that first. Let's first create a relationship between a user and a domain object, right? So say me logged in as Alice, right, navigates to Avatar, right, and then once I'm at Avatar, I like Avatar, right? I like Avatar, and now I create a relationship between Alice and Avatar. Then Bob, right, goes to Avatar and sees that Alice is listed as a person who likes this movie. And then it makes sense that I can click on Alice's username, right, and navigate to her profile, right? It's less of a realistic use case where I can just arbitrarily see a list of all the users, right? If I would be a system administrator, makes sense, but not for any regular person. The question on the chat. Let's see. Hi, Professor. One more question about project topic. We can choose any topic except movie review, right? Yeah. So yeah, you're not allowed to use my exact implementation. You can you can you can use my API. You can use my API, right? But your implementation should look considerably different than mine. Okay. And if I create a a review or a follow, well, obviously follows anybody can implement follows, right, and reviews and whatnot. Yes, you can use my review, but it should look significantly different than mine. Okay, so let's play around with that idea, right? So I'm logged in as Alice. I would like to go to Avatar, and then Alice likes Avatar. All right, so let's do that. Okay, so let's create first a screen where do we need to? I guess so. Yeah, we need to navigate to a screen where I can see the details about Avatar, and then Alice can like Avatar. So let's do that. All right. So this is not a link, but we could create links out of this, right? So let's do that. Let's come here, right? And let's see, we have movies, the React web app. Let's see, movie reducer service done, blah, 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 MDB service, reducer search. Right, so this is a search screen. And the search screen is rendering the title of the movie. So what we could do, right, is create maybe hyperlinks out of this, right? Maybe create a link that if I click on this movie, I navigate to a detail page, right? So let's create a detail page here. So this would be JavaScript. This would be an OMDB details. right? And let's do const OMDB details. And for now, let's just render details. Okay. All right, so this would be H1 details. Okay, and let's export this default OMDB details. Perfect. And we want to navigate here if I click on a particular avatar movie, right? So for instance, in my router, if I navigate to details, something like route path, and then this would be details. And then I provide as an argument, I encode in the URL the ID of the movie, the IMDb ID. If I encode that, I will navigate to the OMDB details. There we go. Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. So this would be something like, details, right? Details, and then I would pass in some ID. And that would navigate me to details. Perfect. Excellent. Yep. And the navigation should allow me to show that I am in the details screen. So maybe we can provide a link there, right? Maybe here. And this would be details. Ooh, but details where? Where do we go, right? Details. I don't have the ID here. I won't be able to navigate to details. Okay, let's leave that to later. Let's right, because the link would be to what? I would need the ID of this. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a minute. Okay, so here's details, and so I need to be able to generate this link. So how do I generate that link? In the search, right, where I render all my movies, this would be my hyperlink, right? So if I click on the title, something like link, right, and I would navigate to, let's see, this would be an expression. This would be details followed by the ID of the movie, and I believe that's encoded in the movie object movie dot IMDb ID, I believe. Right, and we would put the details in here. Okay, something like that. So if I go back, notice that these are hyperlinks now. If I hover over them, notice at the bottom, if you look at the bottom down here real quick, right? If I hover, you'll see that it is pointing to /details /TT04, right? So if I click on it, it navigates to details TT04 something or other. See that? Okay. So we need to pull that ID out of here so that we can then go fetch that movie, right? So let's do that. Let's I believe we have in the service we can find a movie by search, find movie by search term. Actually, this should be find movies, right? Because there's lots of them, not just one. But I'm not gonna change that because I'll screw something up. So let's create one now that allows me to search the details, right? So find movie, right, by IMDb ID, and I will provide the IMDb ID, and so, and the URL looks something like, so this would be detail URL. So this is IP key. So this would be, if you give me the ID, right, I will return that one movie, right? So let's do const response await, Axios dot get, and this is the the details URL followed by the ID, followed by the IMDb ID. And then we just return the response.data. I think it's just data. I think that's it. We'll need a thunk for this. We'll need a thunk. Let's see, these are the thunks, right? I'm just going to copy this thunk. So this is find movie by IMDb ID. This is by IMDb ID. And so this is going to call that function that doesn't have a ID. There we go. And this is the ID. This is IMDb ID, which we're going to pass as an argument. And when it comes back, that's what this is what this returns. Returns the object coming back from here, this data, which we are going to put in the reducer, right? So here, we are going to need by IMDb thunk. There we go. Fulfill, and we're going to put the details here. Which we did not initialize. So we'll put the details here. Details for the movie will be null first, or maybe just an empty object. And so we should be able to retrieve it from the details. All right, excellent. I think we have enough what we need. So first, in the details screen, first we need to grab that ID first, right? Once we have that ID, we should be able to pass it to the thunk. The thunk is going to go out to the OMDB server. We're going to come back with that movie, and we're going to catch it in the reducer and put it in the details. And then we should be able to display those details here in the details screen. But first, we need to grab this here. Okay. So to do that, it turns out that there is a hook that allows you to parse these parameters. Okay, I think it's called use params, I believe. Okay, and the params comes back with a map that parses this pattern here, parses this pattern, and it pattern matches it with the route, this route, right? So it parses it. So this is pattern matched with this. See that? When you navigate to the details screen, right? So you can grab the parameters, and the map contains this variable in the map. We can retrieve it. We can destruct it, right? And then assign it to a local constant, and then we should just be able to render it. Let's see if that's true. There it is. See that? So we have the ID. Once we have the ID, we should be able to pass it to the thunk, right? Unload, right? So we should be able to pass it here to this thunk so that it can go out in the service, right? So let's do that. So unload, right? We're going to dispatch. So dispatch. So we're going to use dispatch. And so unload, which is the use effect. Yeah, we're going to do what? We're going to dispatch the find movie by IMDb thunk, and we're going to pass it the IMDb. Okay. So that's going to go out to the server. It's going to go out to so this is going to go out to the thunk. It's going to IMDb. It's going to go out to the service. The service is going to go out to the OMDB API, right? And it should come back, right? This should be what? It should be this, something like this. So with that followed by the ID, this ID, that ID, and should come back with avatar, right? So it should come back with this object. It should come back with that object. So come back with this object, the data. This data is dumped in the reducer right here in the payload. We put it in the details. So now now that it's in the now that it's in this detailed state, we should be able to extract that with a selector, right? So we should be able to extract this details, right? We should be able to extract it from the selector, right? So use a selector from the state, right? We should be able to grab state dot okay, so wait a minute. This is put in what reducer? Let's see. Store. Okay, it's the OMDB reducer. Right, so this is from state.omdb. We should be able to extract the details, right? And then we should be able to just print out the object, right? So let's do a raw JSON stringify. Let's convert that details, hopefully. Null and 2. Let's see what that looks like. There it is. See that? We have the object. Perfect. Excellent. We have the object. Notice if we refresh, right, the query goes out, right, and then it comes back. So instead of displaying the details here, we have the title. Right? We have the title instead, right? So here, instead of saying details in IMDb, we should be able to say details, right? Details dot title. See that? So if I go to search again and I click on any other movie, notice that it changes. Yeah. So, or if I search Batman, and I click on Batman Begins, notice that it retrieves all that information for that. Perfect. Excellent. Yeah. So let's see. We have the plot. We have the poster. So let's just render a few details on the left side and maybe a poster on the right hand side. So for instance, maybe this could be a row, and then maybe render a couple columns here. So column, so maybe 2 columns. So on the right column, maybe we render an image, and the image has a source that would be maybe details and then poster. I think that's what it is. Let's see what that looks like. There's a poster, right? And if we search other things, Batman. If I search Batman versus Superman, I see that. Okay, perfect. On the left side, we could display a few things. Maybe we can say, the year, rating, blah blah blah, right? So we can maybe maybe make a UL where we say maybe list group, and then we can render a couple line items. And this could be details, year. Is that one of them? And maybe we can put this class name. This would be list group item. And maybe put a title in front of this, year. Or release or something, release. Okay. Oh, okay. No, there's a release. There's a release here, right? So this is released. Oh, okay. There we go. Runtime. So you can display a couple things, right? Maybe director. Director Zack Snyder. So it could be director. There we go. Right. Okay. Excellent. So now I should be able to say maybe if Alice, because I am still logged in, am I? Yeah, I'm still logged in. And so I should be able to say if Alice likes it, right? Like a thumbs up, thumbs down, or maybe a rating or something like that, or a review. I could leave a review or something, right? Let's do something simple. Let's see. Maybe a review. I leave a review. No, that's too complicated. Let's put yeah, let's do a review. Let's do that. Let's do a review. So I'm logged in as Alice, right? So I should be able to retrieve the currently logged in user, right? I should be able to say const current user, right? Use selector state, and this is state dot user data. Is it? I forget. No, I guess not. Users, just users. So users. Okay. And current user should definitely have the information about who's currently logged in, right? So I should be able to say current user dot username. Yes, definitely Alice logged in. And I also know her ID in the database. Right, there it is, right? So if she clicks on the likes or she writes a review, I should be able to create a record that Alice wrote this particular record, right? So let's do that. Let's create here a list of reviews that it'll be no reviews right now. So let's create the first review, right? So let's see down below here, maybe somebody can leave a review. Okay, so maybe this will be a div, right, with maybe a text area, right, that we can maybe do a class. This is a form control. Okay, there it is, and maybe a button where I can submit post a review. All right. Okay. And so I need a state variable where I can grab that, right? So let's do that. We'll do a const review, and then set review. And this is a use state. And we'll initialize the review as empty. Okay. And as I type, I can update this. So this is on change, blah blah blah, right? E and then set review, blah blah blah, e dot target dot value. So I'm logged in as Alice, and I am writing a review. Now, when I click on post, right? So let's handle that post. So say const handle post review button. We're going to click on that, and so we're going to call that there. So on click, I'm going to call the handle review button. What should happen? I would need to tell the server that so-and-so posted this review, right? So we need a service to send the server that so-and-so created this, right? So let's do that. Let's create a review. Okay, it's empty. So let's create a service for this. Let's create a service because we need to tell the server that Alice likes, wrote this review about Batman. Right. So this will be reviews service, and we'll need to post it somewhere. So we'll need a URL. Notice that the server doesn't know anything about reviews, or do they? I don't think we added that at all, did we? Yeah, it's empty. We didn't do anything. Oh, we did. We do have a reviews control. Okay, we never did anything in here. So we'll need to write something here because the React application is going to send the review that Alice reviewed this and then we're going to have to catch it here on the server, right? So the URL, review API, right? A good URL might be something like, HTTP :// localhost 4000, right? And a good API could be, slash API, reviews, and we're going to post there. So in const here, we're gonna have all the what services do is that they have all the CRUD operations that you need to communicate with the server and let them know that you're either creating or reviewing or deleting or everything, right? So here's I am creating a review, right? And here's my review objects, and the review object will be who created the review and the actual review that you wrote. Okay, right? So something like this. Well, we need the thunk, we need all that, right? we'll have to do that before we even get here. Okay, so we could create a review. We're going to do the response, right, from Axios. So this will be an async. This will be await. We're going to say Axios. Now, Axios here needs to participate in the session. Right, it needs to participate in the session. So and to be able to participate in the session, it needs to say, hey, I need to pass the cookies, and by default, cookies are not included, right? So an example of that is the login and profile and all that, right, that we've been using, and you can take a look at the service. If you notice the Axios, you can't use the regular Axios.post, Axios.blah, blah, blah, right? You have to use Axios configured to use credentials. Okay. So let's do that. We'll need that. Let's go to reviews. There we go. So yeah, we need to use API, and we're going to post, right, to that URL. We're going to post this object, right? We're going to pass you the review object, and the review object should be in the form of the text that you wrote and who wrote it, right? And we'll respond back. We'll return the actual review that you wrote, response.data. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's do that. We'll need a thunk for this. So let's create a thunk. So review thunk. So create a thunk, new JavaScript. So this will be reviews dash thunk, thunks. So we'll need that same code, right? So const create review thunk. I'm going to create the thunk, and this takes a create review, a unique identifier, and then the function. And this will be a function that is async, that takes the review object and passes it to create review. Oh, I didn't export it, so we need to export this. So export. So create review. There it is. I'm going to pass the review object, and whatever it returns is going to have to go into a reducer. And we don't have a reducer, right? We don't have a reducer for reviews. So let's see. We'll have to have reviews, right? We need a reducer that has reviews. Okay, let's do that. Let's create a reducer for the reviews. So we need to drop it somewhere. So let's create here a reviews reducer. So here we'll have what? So const review reducer. We'll create a slice. And the slice has a name, so we'll call it reviews. And we will create additional extra reducers, right? Which will have the create review thunk, create review. Oh, we didn't export it. We did not export it. Export. Create review thunk. There it is. When it's fulfilled, when it has been created, we need to do what? Let's see. We have so this will be the state. This will be the state, and this will be the action. So what do we have here? So I am logged in. And if I go to my profile, I would like to be able to see the reviews that I've written. If I go to see somebody else's profile, I like to see the reviews they have written. So that's a use case, right? That's a common use case where I see the review by different ways, right? I like to be able to see the reviews that I've written if I am in my profile. If I go to somebody else's profile, I like to see the reviews that they have written. Or if I go to a particular movie, right, I would like to see all the reviews that a whole bunch of people have written for that movie. So those are several use cases, right? That either the reviews that are written by a particular user, from the point of a user, right? Because a review is a many-to-many relationship, right? One person can write lots of reviews, right, about a whole bunch of movies, or even multiple reviews for the same movie. But so from the user's point of view, I would like to know, given that user, I like to know what the reviews that user has written, or vice versa, right? If I go to the movie, right, I can see all the reviews that have been written by a whole bunch of people, right? So from both ways is one to many, and then from the other way it's also one to many, right? So here I'm just going to create an array that catches the reviews, and it'll be filled in different occasions by depending on where you are, right? If you are looking at a movie, then those reviews will be the movies that were listed for that particular movie, right? If I'm in a profile, then it would be the reviews for that particular person. Okay, so for now, the initial state, right, is that we have reviews, right, as an empty array. How they're filled in depends on the use case, right? Where am I? So if I create a review about a particular movie, it makes sense that if there are reviews that I have come and found reviews for this movie, it will be listed there. And then when I post my review, it would be appended, right, to all those reviews. It makes sense, right? So I'm going to push or add to the current reviews, right? So I'm going to say that state dot reviews is equal to, I'm going to say push my action dot payload. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we have that reducer. I'm going to export this. I'm going to say exports default reviews reducer dot actions dot reducer. Okay. Then in my store, I'm going to add it to reviews, the review reducer. Okay, review reducer. It's going to export that, and I'm going to make it here in reviews. Okay, excellent. So all right, so let's see if we can create this, right? So let's go back to the details screen. We're going to the details, and when I click on the post the review, I am going to dispatch. So we'll need dispatch. So we have a dispatch here. We are going to dispatch to create review thunk, and I'm going to pass an object that contains the following, right? It's going to have the review text. So the review text is going to be the review value here, this variable. Okay? And I guess we can just say review. And then the author, who's the author, and this will be the ID of the person, right? So this will be current user dot ID. Okay. All right, excellent. So let's see if this blows up. So React app. Let's refresh. Uh-oh, it's already not working. Let's see what's complaining. Console blah, error blocked by the client. Yada yada yada. Failed to load. Yada yada yada. Failed to fetch. Blah 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 blah. Blocked by clients. Ooh. Cannot read property reading ID. Yada yada yada. OMDB ID details. ID. Ooh, current user. Oh, I guess I'm not logged in anymore. Okay, I'm not logged in. Probably I ran out of timeout from the server. The server just said, you're not welcome here anymore. So yeah, so let's fix that. So I don't have the current user anymore. Presumably I wasn't logged in. Okay, so here it is. So I probably need to log in again. So profile. Oh, I am logged in. Why did it not like that? So if I go to search, go to avatar. Oh, it is there. Weird. Okay, so let's see if I post a review about avatar. What happens? Let's see, network. Let's take a look at the network. And let's see what the post happens. Now this should fail, right? Because the server doesn't know what to do with that post, right? Because we haven't told it. There is no controller to deal with this, right? So if I type whatever and I post it, notice that it should fail. Okay, notice I get it 404. See that? The server is saying there's nothing mapped to post/API reviews. But at least I can see what I'm sending, right? I'm sending author, the ID of Alice, the person who's currently logged in, and the review. Okay. Now notice that not necessarily do we even have to pass in the author. See that? Because the server knows who's currently logged in. So it's kind of redundant of sending the author. So I am not going to send the author. There's no need for it, right? Because the server already knows who's logged in. All right, so let's try that out. Right, so if I post again, okay, notice that I'm just sending the review, right? The text. Okay. Also, another thing that if I am not logged in, I should not even let you post, right? Only people that are logged in will be able to see this, right? So, for instance, I should hide this posting, right? If you're not logged in. So, for instance, I should be able to say current user, right? So, if there's a current user, then I display this, right? So that so notice that if I refresh, yeah, it's letting me post. Oops, something happened. Oops, what's going on here? Sentry. Let's see what's going on. Am I logged in? I'm still logged in. Search avatar. Okay. Yeah, that was weird. Notice that if I go to profile and I log out, right, and I go to search and I go to avatar, oops. All right, so must think that I'm getting null. Reading, yada, yada. Oh, okay, that's because I am trying to render something that is null here. There we go. Okay, so notice that now I'm not logged in, so it hides that input field, right? But if I log in as Alice, right, and then I go to search and go to avatar, now it shows the input field. See that? Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay, so let's post something. So the server is complaining that there's nothing mapped to this. There's nothing mapped to that for giving you a 404. Okay, so let's go to a server. Let's create a controller for the reviews, right? So this will be const reviews controller. It accepts the app. And we need to be able to receive a post to this, right? So let's do that. So this will be app.post, and the URL is API reviews, right? And this is going to be handled by a function here that is going to be called create review. Notice that I am following the same naming convention that I have on the client. Like on the service, I called it, right? On the service, I called it create review. So I'm using the same name on the controller, just to keep it straight in my head, right? Obviously, they're on separate end of the spectrum, right? This, this is running on the browser, on the client, sending this post over to me running on the server, right? Where I receive it here in the request and the response, okay? So the review object, presumably, is in the body, right? So this is the review object, request.body. And I also know who is logged in, the current user in the state, right? So I should be able to say const current user is equal request.session current user. Okay. Now that I have the current user, I have their ID. So I should be able to store this in the database and say this is the author, right? So I should be able to say review dot author, right, is the ID of the current user dot underscore ID. And now I should be able to save it in the database, right? But I don't have a DAO to save in the database. I don't have a schema, not even a schema. I don't have anything, right? So for now, let's just echo back the object just to see if it works, right? So I'm just going to send back response dot send back the review. I'm not going to store in the database, not yet. Okay, so I have the controller. I'm going to export it. So this would be export. I guess I can export that here. So export default reviews controller. So in the app.js, I'm going to import that. So we're going to import it. So import review controller. There we go. And down below, I'm just going to pass it the app review controller app. Okay. All right. All right. So I have that. Let's restart the server. Now, if I restart the server, the session is going to die, right? The session is going to die on me. So I'm going to have to re-log in. Restart the server. Notice if I go back here and I refresh, notice that I'm going to be logged out. See that? So the form is going to go out. So I need to log back in. So Alice, log in, and search avatar. So I'm going to post something now. I'm going to post, loved it. So post, and now we can see if we get the same error. We should not get the error now, right? In the network. So we're going to post it. We still get a 404. Interesting. Review header API reviews. Localhost 4000 API reviews. Here's a server. 4000 reviews controller / API. Oh, we never mapped it. Create review. Duh. That again. Let's log in again. because we got logged out. Log in. Else. Log back in. Search avatar. Let's try it again. Let's do, loved it. Review. Okay, so this time around we didn't get a 404. Instead, we should get back the response, the actual object. See that? We have the actual objects. Perfect. It's not in the database. It's not in the database. Not yet, anyway. So yeah. So let's put it in the database, right? So in the database, we'll need a schema for this. We need a schema. So let's say, okay, so we have we'll need a schema for this. We'll say new JavaScript. So this will be reviews schema. So this will be const omdb mongoose. So we'll import it. Import mongoose, and then we'll do const review schema. It's going to be mongoose dot schema, and we'll have the review text, right? It will be just a string, and then the author is going to be a reference to a user, right? So this is a type. Will be mongoose dot schema dot types dot omdb. So this is an ID. That's the primary key data type. And we know it's going to reference a user, and the user, we gave it the name user model. Right, so this is how we're going to be able to join the two. So here we're going to say that so that's a type, and the ref, it's referencing the user model. Okay. All right. So we're going to export default review schema. Oh, we need to tell also the collection, right? The collection in reviews. All right. And so that's going to be a new collection that is going to be available in Mongo Compass. That should be listed here. So this is the database, or this one. Oh no, this one. We're using this database. And it's going to be listed here, reviews, which right now it's empty. There's no reviews. Okay. All right, so we have that. We need the model. So let's do the model now. So this would be JavaScript. So this would be reviews model. So we're going to retrieve the schema. So we'll need Mongo too. Import mongoose. We'll need the schema. So the review schema, and now we can create the model. So const reviews model is mongoose.model, and then this is review model and the schema, right? The review schema. Okay, and we export the review model. Perfect. Now we can create the model, the DAO. We'll say JavaScript. This will be reviews DAO. And so we'll need that model, so const or import the review model, and we can create the function, create review. Notice that this name, I'm following the same name, right, all the way back from the React, all the way through the controller, and now in the DAO, I'm being consistent, right? So I know that these are all going to be talking to each other. So this, So this is going to receive a review object, right? That contains presumably the author and the review, right? So this is just going to use the low-level review models, right? Review model dot create, and it's going to review. And it's going to return. It's just going to return a promise, right? Of this object. So the controller is going to need to be async, right? So let's do that. So in the controller, we're going to use, we're going to export, we need to export this, right? So we're going to do export. And then in the controller, we can import this. We can say import this guy. So we say import, all those functions. Right now, there's only one, create review, but there's going to be a whole bunch of, so as DAO, from DAL, right? So here, once we have this, we can create it. We can say we're doing a async here, and so we'll have a actual review. This is the review that was stored in the database. We're going to do a wait. We're going to do a DAO dot create the review in the database. Here's the review object that contains now the author, right? We could just added it, the ID, and the review content that's in there, right? And so we're going to respond with the review that we just stored in the database. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's see if we can get a review into this database, right here. So let's see. We'll need to restart the server and relog in. So let's go back in and refresh. Okay, got kicked out. So let's log in. That's Alice. Alice, log in. Search. We'll go to avatar. And I'll say, oops. Uh-oh. What's going on? That's not letting me type. Why is it not letting me type? Are we getting an error? Inspect. Console. Post. Fail to fetch, blah, 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 blah. Process. Chunk error blocked by client. HTTP post. Yes. What's going on here? Uncaught error not found, blah, 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 blah. What did I change? Refresh. Why can't I type? Ooh, how can I type? What's going on? Anyway, I'll write, I hope Avatar 2 is as good as 1.0. No way, right? But let's see, network. Let's post this. Post. Okay, so we created it in the response. There's my response. Perfect. So presumably it was added. If we go to the compass and we refresh this, how do we refresh? Is there a refresh? Was it created? Connect. Disconnect. Let me reconnect. There we go. Reviews. There it is. I hope Avatar 2.0 is as good as 1.0. Perfect, right? So we have a review. So that means that if I navigate to Avatar, we should be able to see everybody who has reviewed this movie, right? Because Alice reviewed it. But if I go to some other movie, nobody has reviewed those other movies, but somebody did review Avatar. So so Alice wrote a review. Let me log in as Bob, and we'll add another review, right? In my React here. Let's see, who's anybody logged in? No. Okay, so I'm going to log in here as Bob. So Bob 123. Log in and search. I'll go to the same avatar, and then I hope this movie does not bomb. So post a review. Okay. All right. Nothing. So let's go fetch the reviews. Let's go fetch the reviews. So we'll need, on the controller side, we'll need a function that is able to retrieve all the reviews. So we'll do a, now we should be able to retrieve the, oh crap, we forgot something. We forgot something. We knew who reviewed it, but we don't know what movie was reviewed. So there's no way for us to know that you reviewed this particular movie. Yeah, no, we have to add something else to the schema. In the schema, right, we have to say, yeah, this particular author, and also the IMDb movie, right? The IMDb ID of the movie that we are reviewing. Okay, that means that also in the React, when we send this out, in the details, we need to pass in the review, right, which is review, right? And I need to pass in the IMDb ID. IMDb ID, though, it's the parameters, right? So I'm going to pass that in. I'm going to travel to the server. The server is going to grab it, right, and it's going to store it in the database. All right, let's try it out. I'm going to remove those two objects that we have here. Let's refresh this. Refresh. We have these two. I'm going to remove them because they're missing something, right? They're missing. Delete and delete. So let's review from Bob and Alice. So let me restart the server, I guess. Let me restart the server. Terminal, stop, restart. And here I will log in as Alice. And on the other one, I will log in as Bob. So log in, Bob, 123, log in. So both of us are going to review Avatar. So we'll say Alice's review post, and this will be Bob's review post. Let's check to see if we have reviews. Let's refresh. Okay, we have Alice's review and Bob's review. Perfect. Okay. So now on the server, we need to be able to retrieve the reviews either by the movie, right? If we're visiting the movie's details page, I should be able to retrieve the reviews for that movie. If I go to a user page, right, Alice's or Bob's, I should be able to retrieve the reviews by that author. Okay, so here in the DAO, we should be able to implement both of them, right? Const, find reviews by movie, and you give me the IMDb ID, right? Which you will send me from the client, and I will go to models. I will find, and there could be several, right? So this is not find one; it could be several, and I'm going to pattern match it with the IMDb ID, equal IMDb ID, right? Which can be compacted like that, right? I should also be able to retrieve it by the user. So by the user, so by user or by author, right? And you will send me the author ID, right? So this will be author. So this will be an ID, right? And I will be able to retrieve that. So that means in the controller, I should also be able to send you commands to find the reviews one way or another. And I should be able to say, app.get, right? Wait, first let's create the functions. So const find. I'll use the same names, right? So I can keep it straight in my head, right? So I'll have the same name, right? Find. So there's async, request, and response, right? And then I'll use the same name for this on the controller, again, just to keep it straight in my head. So async, request, response, right? And so in this case, I need to encode the movie IMDb, whereas this one I need to encode the ID of the user. So it would be something like, app.get, get because we are reading data, right? And so this would be API. So if I'm reviewing, if I want the reviews for a movie, then the encoding would be something like movies. You'll give me the IMDb ID, right? And then I want the reviews, something like that, right? This gets mapped to find reviews by movie, not function. Whereas if you want to give me the reviews for a user. So this would be, users, and I give you the author ID, the ID of the person, right? And this will be find by author. Okay. So in here now we can parse out those from the params. We can say, const IMDb is the request dot params, and then IMDb, and we can find the reviews from the DAO. So DAO. So this is await DAO dot find reviews by movie, and I pass you the IMDb. Now I have the reviews, and I'm just going to send it back to you. The reviews. And this looks similar, but instead we are retrieving the author, right? The author. So here it is, author, and the function is by author. There we go. And then we retrieve the reviews. Make sense? All right. Let's try it out. Let's restart the server now. Okay. And so back in the React, right? So I'm looking at the detail screen. The detail screen, I want to see the reviews that have been written for this movie, right? So I need to go find them. So in the reviews service, I need to go, just like we wrote the controller side of this, we need to write the client side of this, right? All right, so let's do that. So I'm gonna, we say const. I'm gonna use the same names that I used in the controller, again, to keep it straight in my head. So I need to create these two functions, right? This will be async. You'll pass me the IMDb ID as an argument. And I need to generate this URL. I need to generate this pattern here, right? So this one's not gonna work for me, right? So I'll create maybe another API. I'll call it movie reviews API, movie reviews API. This will be author reviews API, or something like that, right? So this will be let's see, this will be actually this will be movies, right? This will be users. I'm just going to append the ID, right, at the end, right? So for finding, so there'll be two of these. Find by movie, and this is by author. One of them, they're both going to look similar to this, right? So I'm going to paste them here. They look similar, but not quite, right? So this one is going to go out to what API? Is going to go out to this one, right? So I'm going to copy that. So it's gonna, and I need to append the IMDb, right? So that's going to be, oops, going to be that, and I'm going to append the IMDb, and then slash reviews. So I'm generating this URL here, right? Right. And on the other end here is going to be very similar. I'm going to copy here, but instead of the movie reviews, this will be oops. This will be author reviews, and this will be the author ID. So this would be the user's ID and the reviews. I'm not going to send anything. These are gets. Oh my goodness, these are all get. Yeah, not post. And I'm not sending any information. Right? I'm not sending any reviews or anything, right? So, all right, excellent. So we need thunks for all these guys, right? So let's create the thunks. Right. So we'll need export const, all these functions, right? So we'll need a thunk for this. Create async thunk. And we'll need the other one. We'll need it for this one too. Thunk. Okay. And so this is just unique, right? So for each one of these, and both of them are async. So I'm just going to copy this. So async, blah blah blah. And this time we're going to pass in the IMDb. That's what you're expecting, right? IMDb ID, and I'm going to call find reviews by movie. Find reviews by movie, right? And I'm going to pass you the IMDb ID. Whereas in the other one, I'm going to retrieve the reviews by the author, right? So this is going to be find reviews by author, And I'm going to pass you the author. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So in both cases, they are going to populate this array of reviews in all cases, right? Right. So this will be the find reviews by movie Thunk. Find reviews. Oh, did I not export them? Export them. I did. Yeah, I did. So this Thunk. I'm gonna put it there. And this Thunk. I'm gonna put it there. Oh, I don't know if I imported them. Did I import them? Okay. Are they imported? Yeah, they're imported. In both cases, the array comes back of all the reviews. I'm just going to put them in there, right? And depending on where I am, right? If I am in the reviews, in the details, I will pass the IMDb. But if I am in my profile, I will pass my user ID. Okay. All right. So let's look at this. So in the details, what I'll do is I want to fetch the reviews, all the reviews when I load, if there are any. There might be no reviews, right? So I'm going to dispatch. I need a state where I can display all the reviews, right? All the reviews for this movie. Set reviews. Use state is going to be an empty array of reviews at first, but on load, not only am I going to go get the movie details from the OMDB API, I'm going to go fetch reviews from my database, right? So I'm going to dispatch, find reviews by movie, and I'm going to pass the IMDb. Okay, so that's going to go out. This is going to do what? It's going to go out to the server, right? I'm going to pass the IMDb. It's going to go out to the server. Blah blah. Here's the IMDb. So this is going to go out to the controller. So way in the controller. I should hit this function, which is going to go out to the DAO. It's going to retrieve all the reviews. Going to come back, right? It's going to come back to the here to the Thunk. Going to come back to the Thunk, and it's going to return those reviews. It's going to go into the reducer. Here, I'm actually not going to push, right? Just going to say equals. All right, those are all the reviews, right? Those are all the reviews. So it's just an array of all the reviews, right? And then in the details, I should be able to populate these reviews, right? I should be able to populate these reviews. Let's see. We should be able to say, let's see. Review. Wait a minute. This blah 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 blah. Actually, not from the selector. I should do that. Not from the state. I don't need the state. Sorry, it's the state. It's already being maintained by my reducer. So this will be const reviews. Yeah, reviews from use selector. State. state.reviews, I think. Right? Is that what I called it? The reducer? Yes, reviews. All right, let's see if this blows up. Let's come back here. Let's refresh. Did it blow up? Okay. Review should let's render the reviews down below. Let's render the reviews down below. If there are any reviews, there might be no reviews, right? So let's do something like reviews, right? Dot. Okay, we'll render it maybe as a list. We'll say here's a list, class, list group, and then in between here, we can render those reviews and say reviews dot map, and so this is a review object, and we're going to render here an li class list group item, and render the review dot review, something like that. There it is. See that? Alice's review and Bob's review. See that? Look at that. Right, and everybody sees this, right? Even Bob here. If I refresh, Bob. Actually, no, nobody's logged in. So if I log in, as Alice and log in, and then I go to Avatar, I see the reviews for Avatar, right? But if I go to some other, notice that there are no reviews, right? But if I go to Avatar, I can see the reviews, and I can post more reviews. So this is Alice's. Alice says, I hope this movie, does not bomb, right? So post the review, and there it is. It's being added. If I refresh, notice that the reviews are there, right? And I'm still logged in, right? Still. So now I would like to be able to do, what if I go to my profile? If I go to my profile, I would like to see the reviews that I reviewed about the movies. Right? But if I log in as Bob, I like to see Bob's review. Okay. And let's see how we're doing with time. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to leave it here. But you see how we were able to capture those relationships, right? And have and display information that is particular to different things, whether I'm logged in or not, peculiar to the person who's logged in, right? The only thing that I'd like to show you though is who posted this. Okay? Now the problem with posting, showing who posted it, is that it would be the author, right? And now the problem with the author, right, is that the author is an ID. See that? It's an ID. So it's not very useful. I don't know who that is, right? At least I know that these two were posted by two different people, whereas this was posted by the same person over there. But in essence, it would say Alice or something, right? And now we could do that, right? We can do the following on the server, right? We can say that when we retrieve the reviews by movie, right, it'd be nice if the author would be the actual object for the author, right? So what we could do is the following. We can say dot populate, right? Populate the field author, right? Now, when you populate, you have to use the exec function at the end. So what this is going to do is going to replace that ID, replace the ID with the actual object that it references. Right? So you don't get the ID, instead you get the object itself. So let's do that. Restart the server. Right, so now if I come here and I refresh, oh, actually, it would be an object, right? It would be an object, so it doesn't like to render objects. So it would be author username, right? There we go. See that? Alice, Bob, see that? And maybe, this could be, span, and this could be maybe class, float end. There it is. So written by Alice or Bob. And these could be hyperlinks, right? These could be hyperlinks that navigate to the profile, right? So this could be, instead of span, this could be, link that to something that says, profile, right? Like that, profile / and then the ID of the author. So this would be, something like that. Maybe author dot _ ID. Oops. Link. Oh, I need to import the link. Did not import. Let's import it. Okay, so notice that if I hover over it, right at the bottom, you will see it says profile ID, the ID of the person. So if I click on that, there's nothing mapped to that. There's nothing mapped to it, right? But right, you could create a profile that shows that person's information, right? Only the public part of it, right? And then in there you could list everything that is related to that person, right? Including, all that person's reviews, right? Their username maybe, right, but not their address, not their email, not their phone number, right? So that profile would that profile would use the other service, right? It would use this other service. Find the reviews by author. So it would only display. So if I'm logged in as Alice, it would only display this one and that one. Well, I'm sorry. If I'm navigating to Alice's profile, it would only show these two. But if I'm navigating to Bob's, it would only show that one. Now, if I'm Bob, right, in my own profile, I would see my reviews, but I would not see Alice's unless I navigate to Alice's, right? And if I am logged in as Alice, I would see my reviews, but not Bob's. Unless I navigate to Bob's profile, then I would see his review. Make sense? Right. So each one would use different IDs for the author, right? If I am my profile, I would use my author ID. If I navigate to somebody else's profile, right, it would be that person's profile ID that I would use to retrieve the reviews for that person. Make sense? All right, and that's what we're gonna chat about on Wednesday. Okay. All right, any questions? Okay, so I'm going to post this to the repository, and feel free to use it as you wish. And I'll see you Wednesday. All right, good night, everybody. Yeah, for the final demo, it's just going to be a kind of like an interview where the TAs are just going to ask you, can you demonstrate that you can do this, right? And then you say, yeah, sure, and then you demonstrate it, and you have to convince the TA or myself that yes, you did implement that feature, and there'll be just a checklist of things, and I will share that with you so that you are prepared for that presentation. Okay. Put it in Heroku and Netlify. Yes. Worst case scenario, if you can't put it in Heroku because you weren't able to get it, because your application wasn't accepted, we would accept a local implementation. Share the demo on Wednesday. Share the demo on Wednesday. What do you mean? Share the demo on Wednesday. Lynn, I don't understand the question. Share the demo on Wednesday. Lynn? Yeah, I'll give you a guide. Basically, it's the requirements document that I shared with you a couple weeks ago. But I will create a spreadsheet where you can do a check mark and say, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. And it's the same thing that the TAs are going to use to grade you. Right? They're going to go through and say, okay, did you do this? Did you do that? Does it do this? Does it do that? Can you log in? Can you log out? Can you show me a one-to-many? Can you show me a many-to-many? Can you show me user one, user two? Um, can I create a relationship between one user and another user? Can I create a relationship between a user and a domain object? Are there 3 domain objects? Are there 3 types of users? So it'll go through that checklist, and I will share with everybody. When do you going to post that checklist? Later this week. It's in the requirements document. It's the same thing from the requirements document that we went over. Everything is listed there, but it will be in in a checkbox in a list checklist format. All right, everybody. Thank you. Good night.